Hi guys, welcome back. So for today's video, I will be showing the meta report for the first week of Expedition League. Yes, it has already been 1 week since the league started, and the first day of the league has been extremely smooth. There was no delay, lag or crashing or whatsoever. Okay, the only downside was that Act 1 was pretty insane and many of us were struggling to go through them. Not to mention that the mana cost and the huge damage nerfs has actually affected us quite badly. Okay, so for today's content, I will be showing the top 5 most played class, followed by the top 5 most played skills, and to wrap up the conclusion on my take of the current state of the meta. So in this video also, I will not be showcasing any gameplays for the specific class or skills, cause I don't really have time to do it. And yeah, if you would really like to see any of the gameplays, you can just go to YouTube or Reddit and search for it. Basically, I'm just going to give a very quick summary on the current state of meta instead of showcasing every single skill and how it is being played. And now the top 5 most played class. First on the list we have Necromancer, followed by Raider, Gladiator, and then Hierophant, and the last will be Saboteur. As you can see, their percentage, Necromancer is quite dominant this league. There's 21%, so quite a lot. And then we have Raider and Gladiator following up very closely near to each other, followed by Hierophant and Saboteur, which is very close to each other. So the comparison based on the previous first week of 3.14 Ultimatum League is that Elementalist has really gone down to the bottom 5 of the most played class, and then Assassin is somewhere near the middle where people are still playing. I think it's mostly poison builds. And then Necromancer has just become the first contender because minion builds are just relatively popular and easy to play. Okay. Ascendant and Occultist is still playable and they are sitting at 6th and 7th place, so still not so bad. The next one will be that the Raider speedy mechanics, right, has put it to 2nd place. I think with all the changes and stuff, Raider has become quite popular, not only for the avoiding of ailments, and it also has provided a lot of speedy nodes to help speed up all your mappings and bosses. Okay, next is the Gladiator shield skill. Is quite a cool trend now. That's why it's sitting at the 3rd place. Most of them are playing Bleed, which I will go through later. And then Hierophant is back with Totem builds at 4th place. Totem builds are a very in thing now. And lastly, Saboteur traps and mines are very popular at 5th place now. Okay, we'll start off with the Necromancer top 3 most played skill. So first being Raise Spectra. I think Raise Spectra is no surprise for the players that have played POE for some time. Most of them are using the Syndicate Operatives because of their good map clear speed as well as the single target, and that's why I have labeled the ratings of this skill as SS for map clear and bossing. Okay, so honestly the ratings really depends on what spectra you are raising, but I'm just looking on a larger amount of people playing that most of them are using Syndicate Operatives. That's why it is in the SS tier. Okay, and this build has many build variations, but the most common one is the co-conversion where they use the Triads glove. Okay, the next thing is that this build is actually not easy to start with because getting 5 Spectra is very important, and the 5 Spectra can be reached from equipments and gems which are very expensive. You need to have your Raise Spectra gem to be at level 25, so base will be level 21 and then +2 from your Ascendancy and +2 from another source. I can't remember which was it. And then on top of that, you have to have a +1 to maximum Raise Spectra chest, which can only be gotten from delving. Okay, next in second is Summon Skeletons. So Summon Skeletons is quite popular now. It has quite a decent map clear speed if you are using the skeleton mages or archers. And then bossing wise is actually around S to SS tier also, depending on the build variations, but mostly is quite decent in bossing. Okay, so this build is relatively cheap to build, and the cheap version of the build is already able to clear lots of contents. Like, you don't have to worry about their survivability. You can just pump damage and survivability for your own self. So with this said, it's a very easy league starter with not much effort needed. So there are two variations of this build. One, the skeleton mages, which they will use the Dead Reckoning jewel, and this is the most common build from what I see. The next one will be skeleton archers or warriors, where they do not use the Dead Reckoning and they just use Vow Summon Skeletons for the archers and the generals. Okay, and next we have Raise Zombie. So Raise Zombie is a little bit popular now. It doesn't have very awesome map clear, but I think for bossing it is very awesome because this build is generally a very tanky build because they are stacking strength. So like most of the builds are actually using the Baron, the helmet, combined with Alberon's Warpath and efficient training, so that they can reach the 1000 strength, and the zombies will benefit by having to leech the life towards the players. So there, according to what I see from the path of building or the skill tree, there's a maximum of 11 zombies in total that you can summon. So actually 11 zombies is quite a lot, and they hardly ever die in bossing. Even like those bosses that hit really hard or deal a lot of damage over time is still able to survive. Okay, for the Raider, the top 3 most played skills, first is Toxic Rain. So Toxic Rain has a very powerful map clear speed now, and in terms of bossing it is still very decent, fast in white and yellow tier maps. I'm not really sure about red tier, but I assume it is still quite decent, although it will not like one shot the boss or whatsoever, but with dodging here and there and spamming a little bit, it's still quite viable. So this build is actually simple, easy and beginner friendly. With the 50% increase in global poison damage, this build is actually so much better now. And I realized that many of the builds are actually going for more AoE in Toxic Rain for faster map clear speed. And then actually the build synergizes with the passive skill tree a lot, in such a way that lots of damage can already be found in the skill tree. So this actually makes Toxic Rain one of the top best league starter all time. Like, you always will see Toxic Rain in the first few weeks of the league, because it's just so easy to use with little currency investment. Okay, next we have Caustic Arrow. So Caustic Arrow is actually similar to Toxic Rain. I don't really know how it scales, but from what I know, it actually scales better with level instead of Toxic Rain. But for map clear wise, I think Toxic Rain is a little bit better. So yeah, I've seen some of the builds, and some of them actually utilizes both Caustic Rain and Toxic Arrow. Like one of the skill linked to Ballista Totem support. That's what I see. But overall, I don't really understand like why people are using Caustic Arrow over Toxic Rain or Toxic Rain over Caustic Arrow. I'm not really a bow user, so yeah. Third, for Raider, we have Lightning Strike. So Lightning Strike is actually quite popular now. In terms of map clear, it is actually very awesome because of the multiple projectiles. And for bossing wise, I am not really sure, but seeing based on a few videos here and there, it's actually quite decent. So it might be sitting at around A to S, I'm not sure, but I'll just label it S cause I think the projectiles do hit pretty hard with the buffs from the support gems. So people are playing Lightning Strike. Firstly, I think it's because of the 100% avoid ailments. Like, I think honestly this is the best thing here, because ailments are very, very annoying right now. Like, even with the recent patch to the ailments, immunity to ailments that last for 4 seconds, I think it is still quite annoying. And next is the Nightblade support has actually been buffed. So Nightblade support is very strong now, in my opinion. It has, as in, it grants elusive. On top of that, it has a increased base crit chance, and it also has a critical damage multiplier plus increased effect in elusive. Like, all of this in just one support gem. So I think Nightblade support is going to be quite popular. I'm not sure how they're going to utilize it, but probably later into the league, people might find out or stuff like that. Okay, and the last part of Lightning Strike is that the Whirling Blade allows this build to clear packs of monsters super fast. Like, you can just zip across the maps. There is no cooldown for Whirling Blade, and just spam a little bit of Lightning Strike on the mobs here and there, and you can just run across the maps very fast. Okay, next up for Gladiator top most played skills. If you can see the top 3 skills, right, most of them are like just Spectral Shield Throw. Some of them are trying Shield Crush, and then there are still a minority that is trying hard with Cyclone. But I'm just going to emphasize on Spectral Shield Throw, because I think like almost the whole world is just playing Spectral Shield Throw for Gladiator. I just feel like Shield Crush is a bit of a beam for now. Yeah, so Spectral Shield Throw, it actually has a very decent map clear and bossing because of the projectiles and chain. So I wouldn't label it SS because I mean, even though it chains and it fires multiple projectiles, but it wouldn't be like super top tier compared to like Toxic Rain and stuff like that. So I will just put it as the rating can be about S to SS tier also, so not much of an issue over there. And like I mentioned, all if not majority of the builds are just playing this with bleeding. So bleeding is something new to this meta. They have actually combined it with the cruelty support gem. I'm not really sure how that works, but yeah, I think all of the top 10 builds that I've actually seen are all playing with bleed. Okay, and this build has very easy max block chance. Like, you can scale it to 75% very easily, and it also has a high armor for physical damage reduction. So in terms of physical damage mitigation, you don't really have to worry much about it. Okay, so all in all, I will say this build is not a super good mapper, and it's also not a super good boss killer, but generally it is just an all-rounder character that has a good amount of DPS and survivability, so making it very easy to play. Like, it'll be very smooth, you won't have problems here and there. You don't need to focus a lot in bossing or map clear. It's just generally very, very good all around. Okay, for Hierophant, the top most played skills, first on the list we have Forbidden Rite. So Forbidden Rite is a new skill that was introduced in 3.15, and I must say this skill is actually super amazing. Like, I've seen streamers and videos of people playing it, and the damage that it just dish out is just so insane. Okay, like if you were to ask me for the rating, I think map clear is S. It can be like S to SS, and then the bossing is definitely SS. Like, there are so many projectiles that can hit, and it just stacks in one location or spot, and then on top of that you have the multiple totems to spam. So first up, this is definitely a totem build base. This is to negate the side effect of taking damage to yourself. like you can see, it actually deals 12% of your maximum life as base chaos damage. So if you are using this with a totem, basically your totem is taking a damage, not you, and you don't have to worry about this side effect. Okay, and the damage of this skill is really crazy. Like the damage seen on POB or POEninja is not actually accurate. It scales a lot more higher than what it actually shows. And this actually synergizes very well with the Viridius Veil and Soul of Mentor that actually gives you a random hex on yourself when your totems die, but with 18% more effect. And on top of that, they are using the self-flagellation jewel, don't really know how to pronounce, but yeah, which actually just meant that you have increased damage per curse on you. So this is a self-curse build. I think this self-curse mechanic has been on for quite some time, and it is actually back. So this combination can actually reach about up to 180% increased damage with 9 curse on you. Okay, it's not really 180%, but I'm just estimating it's about 170 to 180. Yeah, I just round off this number to 20 and just multiply by 9. Okay, and second for Hierophant most skilled plays is actually Freezing Pulse. So Freezing Pulse is honestly the exact same build as Forbidden Rite, like utilizing the totems and self-curse. So in terms of rating, I would say this build has a better map clear, but not so strong bossing damage. So it has very fast map clear because Freezing Pulse just have a wider AoE, and from what I understand, it can even reach out of screen. So like monsters that are out of screen will die before you even reach them. Okay, and yeah, obviously the difference between Freezing Pulse and Forbidden Rite is cold versus chaos damage, just choosing which you prefer. And I realized some of the players are actually using Aziri's Reflection instead of Viridius Veil to negate the self curse on you. Okay, third on the list we have Elemental Heat, and this is yet another totem build, just that they are very focused on the fire element now, and the build uses Frostferno for the +2 level to fire and cold gems, so making Elemental Heat have a +4 level to it. And actually I did not mention here, but this build is very awesome because you only need 4 link to start playing this build, because the Frostferno is a helmet and the maximum you can have is a 4 link. And this build also uses Calm's Heart for the very high flat maximum life plus 40% increased fire damage, so making Elemental Heat a very fire eccentric skill now. Okay, on to Saboteur. The most played skills. First we have Ice Trap. So Ice Trap is very popular now. In terms of map clear speed, I think this is not super awesome. I will say it's still good, but not very awesome. And the bossing is definitely the best of all of them. Like, you can just spam the ice traps, and then when they detonate, the boss will just freeze over there, and you can just keep spamming. So most of the players uses the divergent quality for the 100% more damage when you freeze the enemy. Okay, so like I mentioned, bossing with this build is just too easy. You just freeze the boss and just keep throwing your ice trap. So the commonly used unique items are Tinker's Skin for the free frenzy charges, the phasing and the huge regeneration of life, and also the Slave Driver hands provide very easy generation of endurance, frenzy, power charges, and many other more. So stuff like there's no mana issue, which actually many people are still complaining. Okay, second for Saboteur will be Exsanguinate. So this skill is back from 3.14, just that there is a combination of Exsanguinate with the high impact mines now. Okay, so for map clear speed, I will rate this as, I think this can actually go up to SS. It really depends on your items as well. And for bossing, this I will say this is actually a A to S, not really a S. but from some of the videos I see, it actually kills the boss quite fast, so I will just label it as S. So yeah, this, like I mentioned, this is a combination of Exsanguinate with Mice, and they scale a lot with level. So it has better map clear because the some of them actually uses the chain support. Otherwise, it will just hit with pierce, like it has an inbuilt pierce plus a cone light effect. And yeah, because of the pierce and cone light effect, chain support is actually quite good over here for map clear speed. Okay, the bossing damage actually is really not up to expectation, like because generally mine or trap builds have high bossing damage, just because you can power them up and explode, but not really for the case of Exsanguinate. Okay, like I mentioned, many of the builds just try to increase the levels of your gems, so most of them are using the Skin of the Lawyer for the extra levels, and then Cold Iron Point just to boost the levels of all the physical skill gem, like including your Exsanguinate. Okay, third we have Seismic Trap. So Seismic Trap has similar build as the Exsanguinate Miner, like scaling with level is important. So the Skin of the Lawyer and the Cold Iron Point is also important, as it was widely seen being used. So Seismic Trap is slightly different. It doesn't really have a very good map clear as compared to Exsanguinate, but it has a very strong bossing DPS. So there are really different variations of this build. Some are using Tinker Skin, some are using the Skin of the Lawyer, but I think it just really depends on preference, whether you want the charges and the survivability or the level for more DPS on your traps. So on top of that, generally many builds actually combine both Exsanguinate Mine and Seismic Trap. So basically Exsanguinate is for map clear and then Seismic Trap is for bossing. So honestly my ratings is not exactly accurate because of the mixed builds, but roughly you get the idea over there. Okay, so the top 5 most played skill, first is Spectral Throw. Spectral Throw is sitting at 12%, and then next there will be Raise Spectra, which is also sitting at 12%. So I think there's a very close competition between these two. I think it's just a very mild percentage. Before that it was actually Raise Spectra, but Spectral Shield Throw actually got slightly more popular. I think generally because of how it is easy to scale and it doesn't really use much currency, so people are going for Spectral Shield Throw instead. Whereas Raise Spectra is actually quite expensive to build up in terms of min-maxing. And yeah, getting the chest piece and the other equipments to increase the spectral damage and life is honestly quite annoying because of how expensive it is. Okay, and third we have Toxic Rain. So nothing much to be said about this. This is a very common league starter, and people are still running it just to farm up for their second build. Forbidden Rite is the fourth one, so this is gaining popularity. I think it will continue to increase because not many people dare to actually try it. They are afraid that this might fail or something like that. Yeah, but honestly, trust me, this skill is really very strong. The damage that is dishing out is a lot more than what you expect it to be. Okay, so 5 on the list we have Ice Trap. Ice Trap is also gaining popularity, I think because of the boss clear. So to summarize, Raise Spectra is popular once again with the Syndicate Operatives, and Spectral Shield Throw, like the bleeding builds, is really a thing now. Yeah, like I mentioned, Toxic Rain is no exception because it's a very strong league starter. So Forbidden Rite is very interesting, honestly, in my opinion, with the self-curse and the crazy amount of damage it can deal. Yeah, and Ice Trap is kind of like cool. Like, it was actually one of the builds that is hardly nerfed. It was hardly touched. So only Hypothermia got nerfed. I think so. I'm not really a trap user, so I'm not sure. But from the builds I see, I think only Hypothermia support got nerfed. Okay, so this is the top 5 classes played by the top 5 most played skills. There's actually not really top like details on the top 5 class being played because they are very focused on the specific class right now. Like you can see Spectral Shield Throw only has Gladiator mostly. I don't know what's with the Raider. And then Ray Spectra is like 99% Necromancer. The rest are just trying too hard, or they don't realize the changes from this league that like Elementalist and Occultist is not kind of playable. And then you have Toxic Rain, where Raider, Pathfinder and Trickster is just the dominating one. Mostly Raider because of the speedy mechanics of it. And then Forbidden Rite is definitely Hierophant because they are just using the totem build to abuse how it actually reduces life from yourself. So like I mentioned, it reduces life from the totem and it doesn't reduce life from you. So yeah, this is something that is very interesting. And then lastly, we have Ice Trap, which is mostly played by Saboteur, just to utilize all the Ascendancy passive skills. Okay, so this is my conclusion on my take on the current state of the meta. So the meta has completely shifted with all the huge nerfs in the support gems. Like you don't see the exact same build that was being played in 3.14, other than the Spectres, of course. Other than the Spectres, the meta has completely shifted. Like you can see that Cyclone is finally no longer in the top of the list, like for once. I'm not sure if Cyclone was like popular for how many years, but I know that I've actually seen Cyclone always at the top of the list. Like I think it's cause it's very easy to play, even for beginners. Okay, then next, minions, totems and traps is definitely going to be the meta of this league since they are not really affected. So therefore, like the damage reduction is not really huge. For minions, is definitely the elemental damage ones, like not the physical ones. So co-conversion is still there. And then next is Elementalist totally died this league. Like there are still some playing out there, but we all know that it scales very badly now because of how hard they hit all the support gems, like the Archmage support, the elemental damage support and stuff like that. So in short, right, all the classes that have actually heavily rely on the core support gems are not being played right now. So I give you an example, like if you were to play a melee physical skill, so it actually supports brutality, melee physical support, multi-strike and stuff like that. Also, actually multi-strike is not really affected, but yeah, those that actually has the percentage damage increase are not really good right now. Okay, next is the highly anticipated and cool Summon Reaper was still actually trashed after the small patch. I know that many people has been trying to play this Summon Reaper build because it just looks very cool, man. Like honestly, and then yeah, it just has lots of disappointment even after the patch that people has gave up on it already. But you know, I think I might have actually found another method to play it. I will not release it soon because I am still trying to farm my way into my own medium budget version. Okay, so next is all the builds are very focused onto a specific class right now. Like there is no alternate variation in which players can choose what class they want to play. And yeah, because of this, it's very standardized now where majority of the population just use that particular class for that particular build. So example, I would say like Spectral Shield Throw is only seen in Gladiator. And then your Hierophant Forbidden Rite is only inside Hierophant for the totems. It is very specific now. There is no other good options for it. And the last thing I want to mention is that the self-curse totems are definitely super insanely strong this league. Like I think not many people have actually caught up to it yet, but especially with the introduction of Forbidden Rites, the builds has a very simple play style of like just place your totems and go while you are immune to curse. So do bear in mind that this build you are immune to curse, and immunity to curse has been removed from the Flask this league, which I think also makes this build very popular because you have one less thing to worry about in maps. And on top of it, you don't have to worry about damage reflect as well. So it is a build that you don't have to worry about almost everything. Yeah, so you don't have to keep rerolling your maps or worry about the damage on your the damage reduction for curse, taking more damage from curse and stuff like that. Okay, that comes to the end of my meta report. I just want to give a shout out to all the Carrion Golem users that have been following me or not following me. Yeah, it's just honestly sad to say that physical build Carrion Golems is not really good right now because of all the huge nerfs to the physical support gems. It is actually quite bad, like compared to all the other builds that actually are still doing quite well, that their support gems are not being affected. So all in all, it's just still quite decent and it's a good beginner build to start with, but it cannot be compared to other minion builds. So if you are looking for builds that can be comfortable to play around with, like to start off and get used to the game, learn stuff like that, you can still use Carrion Golem. But if you are looking for more DPS in minion builds, definitely go with the Syndicate Operative Spectres or the Skeleton Mages. Like as of now, I am still going to stick with Carrion Golem's Aura Stacker because I think it's cool and it offers a good party play option. Like whenever you come online, your friends will definitely be looking for you because your auras are just too awesome for them. Like it provides more attack speed, more movement speed, so that you guys can clear very fast at a very fast pace also. High resistance for survivability, high armor and evasion given to them, which also means they have more multiple defensive layers when you're around. So yeah, it's just something that I just want to invest on because of party plays. But if you are going for solo plays, I just recommend to use a different minion build. Okay, so once again, thank you for watching. Do remember to hit the like and subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!